All right. Welcome to the End Zone Oracle here on IE Sports Radio. I'm your host, Glenn Ritter. Joining me, as always, is my partner in crime, Josh Ritter. No relation, but we're both super huge fantasy football fans. So, got a great show for you. Going to talk a lot about some injuries, some of the matchups this week. Now that we've got through our the whole week 8 bye to get in. I don't know if you want to call it that, with 6 teams on bye last week, made things a little crazy. Got 4 on bye this week. We'll talk about some of those guys that are going to be missing from your lineups, how to get some other players in those spots, and who to pick up if you need to pick up somebody off the waiver wire. For anybody out there, nobody's out on the screen yet, but definitely reach out or throw some comments in the chat. If you've got a question about who to pick up or who to start, a trade offer that's been put to you, a trade offer that you want to send out to somebody, anything like that, fantasy football related for this weekend, drop it in the chat. We'll discuss it during the show. But before we get into that, again, introductions. Glenn Ritter here. You can find me on X at Gritter13 and also on TikTok at IESR Minnesota. I am the Minnesota insider for IE Sports Radio, so I cover the Vikings, Twins, so you can see that on the shirt, Timberwolves, Wild, Gophers volleyball, Gophers football, Gophers basketball. Once the season really gets going, I'll be on TikTok talking about all of those teams. And Mr. Josh Ritter, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on X at Josh Ritter 13 and at TikTok at Josh.Ritter57. Always talking about my teams. Of course, right now the focus is on the Toronto Blue Jays, who are about to start off on Game 5 of the World Series. But I had to get my fantasy advice from Glenn, so I'm going to be here even during the game. I got to be here. I got to know, and I got to give whatever knowledge I can give out to all of you. So we're here anyway.
Awesome. So what other teams do you cover there for IE Sports Radio?
I cover the Miami Dolphins, the pathetic Miami Dolphins, the Phoenix Suns as we get started on the Phoenix Suns season, and as well as the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers and the Oregon Ducks football team as we push towards the college football playoff.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for joining me every single week. And for everybody that just kind of jumped in to the chat, please throw out any comments that you've got, players that you're thinking about starting. Who should you start if you're trying to pick and choose between different players? If you've got want to hit up the waiver wire to replace the people that are on bye, people that are injured, because we know that there were some injuries that took place last week. We're going to discuss all of that. But again, throw any questions into the chat. We'll address them throughout the show. So first, let's talk about some of those top performers of the week last week. I know I can rattle off a few of them because I faced them in several of my leagues. Between you think about quarterbacks, but Jordan Love, Drake May have been dominant. Drake May is turning into a superstar fantasy quarterback. They've won 5 straight games. He is growing up in front of our eyes. And I think he's going to be a legitimate starter. He should be a legitimate starter right now, an every week starter, unless you happen to have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, maybe Jordan Love even. I don't know. Jordan Love's kind of hit or miss as well, but he should probably be an every week starter for you.
Yeah.
Running backs, Jonathan Taylor is having an MVP type season. Mike Pat, good luck or good for you, man. Or chill, Mike, right? Your Colts, he's been dominant this year, leading the league in touchdowns. I think he has 15 touchdowns or something like that, something ridiculous. I think the next best running back is like 8. So he has just been dominant this year. James Cook had a huge week. Chase Brown has really bounced back. I was fortunate enough to pick him up in one of my leagues because somebody dropped him after the rough start to their season. So I was very happy with that. And then Breece Hall had a surprise sighting too. So I had both of those guys on my in my roster in the one league that I did win this week, because the other ones I was going against James Cook and then Rashee Rice is the one of the other guys that I was facing in both of those leagues. So he's another one that really had a huge week. Jamar Chase, again, he's somebody that you start on an every week basis, but really he had 12 catches. So if you're in a full PPR league, he's putting up a lot of good points, which is kind of the scoring method that we usually refer to here on the show. It's just a full PPR point per reception. The one guy that was surprising and somebody that I did have on my bench in one of my leagues was Troy Franklin in Denver. I was going back and forth because I know how bad the Dallas Cowboys defense is and wanted to. I was thinking about putting him into my starting lineup because I have Abuka on a bye. Kind of went back and forth. I ended up starting Jameson Williams instead. And yeah, I would have gotten a few more points from Troy Franklin, but what happens? Then for tight ends, a couple of other guys here too that talk about. Tucker Kraft is the number one receiving option in Green Bay and should be an every week starter, except when they're on bye. Travis Kelce had a huge week, and Oronde Gadsden, who was somebody that I was going back and forth to pick up because I had Trey McBride on a bye last week and thought, I need to fill in the tight end for 1 week. I was like, Oronde Gadsden Jr. or Jonnu Smith. I went with Jonnu Smith, and it was not all of my takes are 100% right. Obviously, it was a bad mistake, but I just take solace in the fact that I would not have won at all because I was facing Dan, who is our Green Bay Packers insider here, and he had James Cook, he had Rashee Rice, he had Jordan Love, and beat me by about 75 points. So that wasn't going to be the difference between a win and a loss right there, but it is a little disappointing to make some of those decisions like that. So any other performers that stuck out to you this week?
I'll just speak to Troy Franklin. I'm a big fan of him with that offense because of the quarterback that he plays with. Bo Nix seems to trust him in the red zone. And so it seems like you're going to get at least one target in the end zone every single week out of that combination of Bo Nix and Troy Franklin. So while he may not have the volume that you would expect to get in a fantasy receiver, if you have that flex position available, you may not like the projection that the algorithm gives you, but you can probably count on at least one opportunity in the end zone for Troy Franklin every week. So he's someone that you can start to trust. I love Oronde Gadsden. If you listened to last week's show, I'm a big fan of him, and I'm a little bit better that the Dolphins didn't pick him up as a legacy player or his dad having been a Dolphin. But he's a heck of a player, and he's starting to prove he's an every week start. So if you've got him and you can start him, there's not a lot of tight ends in the NFL that you can consistently say is going to go every week. And unless you've got a Tucker Kraft on your team or maybe a Travis Kelce, you have to start Oronde Gadsden if you've got him on your team. But a couple guys that jumped out at me, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here because may not get many opportunities this year, but Tua threw 4 touchdowns, and that was just a out of nowhere kind of performance. He actually is, I believe, tied for second in the NFL in touchdown passes this year. So when he plays well, he plays very well. It's just his stinkers are really bad. But in a pinch, the Dolphins offense can produce. They've actually been a pretty decent offense. They've just been a rough defense. So that was fun to see. And of course, the beneficiary of that, Jalen Waddle, 99 yards and a touchdown. So bit of a homerism pick there. I also liked R.G. Harvey, 3 touchdowns. So, that might be a little bit of an anomaly. I'm not sure that you can project that going forward, but that was a heck of a performance. And Dallas Goedert, as the Philadelphia Eagles offense evolves throughout the year, I remember in years past, Dallas Goedert was more of the red zone threat as they went through the season in past years. And I know they've been a really run-heavy offense the first 5 or 6 games of the season, but they're starting to develop more of a passing offense. And Dallas Goedert is going to be one of those guys that you can count on to have a high propensity for touchdown catches. And, who catches touchdown passes in the red zone? Tight ends do. Yep. And so he's another tight end that you can look at, and he had 2 touchdowns this weekend. So good performance from him.
Yeah. Yeah, great point. Yeah, I liked all of those. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the worst performances of the week. Um, do you have any off the top of your head that you want to bring up right now?
Yeah. So for me, Caleb Williams is such an up and down player at quarterback. He had 11 points in fantasy this week, which is not good. And he's had good weeks as well. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted because the Toronto Blue Jays just took a 1-0 lead. Let's go
Awesome.
Blue Jays. Hey, I don't know who it was, but we're gonna go with it. Anyway, sorry. Caleb Williams, he's one of those guys that you have to really be in a quarterback bind to start at this point. You just cannot count on that Bears offense, and especially in a city like where they play in Chicago, they're not going to have a lot of controlled climate stadium games, and he hasn't proven to really be a running threat in that sense on a consistent basis, like I thought he would be. So he's someone that I would be very careful to start going forward. Darius Slayton had a rough game. That Giants offense, I would have thought that with Cam Scatterboo going out, that Darius Slayton would be someone that could kind of fill in some of the gap, and it just didn't happen last week. And then someone that cost me in one of my fantasy leagues, Evan Ingram, only 3 points this week, just kind of laid an egg where the receivers kind of took over for the Broncos, and it just didn't really happen for Evan Ingram. So those were a few that stood out for me. How about you?
Yeah. So for me, a couple of the stinkers were at quarterback Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott. Both of them had pretty good matchups. I thought. I thought with Dak going. I can't remember who they were playing last week, but I do remember Baker was playing against the Saints, and I'm like, okay, that should be a 3 touchdown game for him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that didn't happen. I think he had like 4 points. Jordan Mason at running back did nothing against the Chargers, which really drove me nuts as a Vikings fan. But also Bijan Robinson really got shut down by the Miami defense. How the heck does that happen? I mean, you have one of the most talented running backs in the league going against one of the worst run defenses in the league. And how does he only get 48 yards and also lost a fumble? No touchdown, obviously, but it's like 25 yards rushing and 23 yards receiving, or vice versa. I can't remember which is which, but it was just kind of crazy there. For receivers, again, Quentin Johnson, starting and going against the Vikings and got 0 catches. I found that to be pretty crazy considering he's been one of their most consistent receivers this year. But Ladd McConkey stepped up, and so did Gadsden. I mean, Gadsden was catching everything. He was the main target in that game. Let's see, Jonnu Smith, again, I talked about that earlier, started him. And then Dalton Kincaid, I thought Buffalo had a pretty good matchup, but he did almost nothing. I think he had like 3 catches for 20-some yards.
And isn't that the worst when the team that you have a guy going for scores 40 points and your guy's the guy that didn't get the points? That's so frustrating. By the way, first 2 batters, 2 home runs, 2-0 Blue Jays. Let's go.
Wow.
I'm going to keep talking about this, but it is a beautiful thing. So
hey, keep going. Yeah, we got to talk about those good things, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit more. Let's go to the injuries. Let's talk about some of those that took place. Obviously, everybody knows about Cam Scatterboo, out for the year, dislocated ankle, just horrific injury. If Tyrone Tracy's available, hasn't been picked up already, definitely somebody that you can probably count on. A couple of guys that left games this week, but they're on buys coming up are Quinshon Judkins and Saquon Barkley. So you might want to look at their handcuffs. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But also we know that Terry McLaurin and Isaiah Pacheco are going to be out this week. So plan accordingly. Or Pacheco, they said, is most likely going to miss the game against the Bills. But just have a different option ready. But one big injury update. Lamar Jackson is finally going to be coming back and playing on Thursday night this week. So looking forward to that. Any other injuries that I missed I was trying to keep track of
I'll
those
I'll just
throughout
do
the
a quick
weekend.
comment on the Cam Scadaboo injury. He's one of the cool good feel stories of the NFL.
Yep.
I loved watching him play at Arizona State, and to see him get injured when he was kind of taken off with his career was just such a bummer. And I'm just sad for him. And we'll talk more about the replacements for him later in the show, but really sad for him. And of course, Lamar Jackson comes back against Miami tomorrow night. So here we are. But no, it's good because I've got him in 3 fantasy leagues.
Okay.
So I need him to come back and play well, just maybe not tomorrow. But here we are.
Yeah. You make a good point about Scadaboo. I was not familiar with him until I watched the Arizona State bowl game during the playoffs. I can't remember who they were playing against, but he single-handedly carried them to victory and was just amazing. So definitely that type of player that everybody loves to cheer for. Because he does everything. He blocks, he catches passes out of the backfield. He's a good hard runner, runs between the tackles. He has some elusive. He's fairly elusive. I'll just say that. I can't pronounce all my words here correctly tonight. But anyway, he is that guy that everybody will cheer for. Even an Eagles fan would cheer for a Giants player like Scadaboo. So definitely tough to see him go down for the year with that kind of an injury. From the Vikings perspective as well, Carson Wentz going out, boy, watching him during that game, really, I was just like, man, if he was a horse, they'd have just put him down because you could just tell he was just so beat up. And then to find out that he's going to have surgery to, let me see, had a torn labrum, dislocated shoulder, and fracture to his shoulder socket. I don't know if that all happened in the game against Cleveland in London or if it started there and got progressively worse over the last couple of games, because he did have a left shoulder injury coming back from London. So in that game. Anyway, just tough to see him just going through all of that pain.
And outside of Justin Jefferson, you got to think about, I know Jordan Mason, if you've got Jordan Mason in a league, being down that many quarterbacks as a team, you have to think about how the rest of the team fits around that player. And it can affect your start sit decisions. If you have a guy like Jordan Mason, who did not have a good game last week, and now you have a very uncertain quarterback situation, you got to factor that in when you're thinking about, okay, this team may not be able to start. It may not be able to effectively have an offense because they have a third string running back, things like that, or third string quarterback. So yeah.
Well, yeah. So thankfully, JJ McCarthy is going to be back this week.
Okay, good.
Hopefully, he'll be like he was in the fourth quarter of the game against Chicago, and not like the other 7 quarters that he's played this season against the Bears and Atlanta. And the backup quarterback is an undrafted rookie, Max Rosemer out of Minnesota. So that's, again, and we'll talk a little bit more about Justin Jefferson a little bit later on in the show too. Yeah. So, but before we go into the next segment, I got to look at all these comments. We got a few people in here. Let's see here. Oh yeah, just some from Larry. Oh, he's got the standings. Yep. So those are the top 4 in our league. and obviously, Larry's in first place as the replacements. And he's he knows so much more about football than I do, and I think I know a lot about football. But we're hitting the mid-season
this week. So here we are.
Yeah, we're hitting mid-season things. So let's see here. Yeah, just endure the suffering. So Joey Jets is in playoff contention. Good job there. I don't think I'm going to be in it, but only 1 win separates second through fourth. Anything can happen. That's very true. Things can happen and happen quickly.
And we talked about that last week on the show when you weren't here, Glenn. That fantasy football is one of those things where the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season doesn't necessarily define you. If you can slip into that 6th playoff spot and you have the right mix of players, it doesn't matter how well you played before. It's how well your team is doing when you get to the playoffs. So all you got to do is find your way into the playoffs. You don't have to be the top seed. The top seed frequently does not even make it out of their first playoff matchup because
that has happened to me more than once in my fantasy football lifetime. So let's see. So some matchups for this week. Looks like we got the replacements going against running. Oh, so you're playing Larry this week?
I am. Yeah, that's my team running to a championship. I'm a runner. If anybody of you didn't know, and Larry is the replacements, and I'm not looking that good this week. So that's okay.
Let's see. So the Dallas Parsons disciple. Oh, Dallas Parsons disciples. I thought they changed. I thought that was a different name, but anyway, playing against Dan from Bowls and Hose, and then Joey Jets going against. Who's the show me those TDs? Is that David?
I don't
can't remember who that is, but regardless, I digress. And then I've got the Love Boat Scandal going against Bishop Sycamore. So playing for last place or playing to not be in last place. So we got to pull out a win here against Taryn.
I got to stay away ahead of both of those. So there you go.
Yeah. So we've got a lot on the line this weekend. All right. Let's see here. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate all of those. Brian, maybe that's Brian's team. Is Brian 6-2?
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Larry said, "Now watch me lose." Yeah.
I hope so, Larry. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
And then Joey's going to get back over 500. Yes, I believe it. I believe you there, Joey. I have a feeling you're going to be able to do that and take that next step more so than what your Jets can do. No offense, but anyway. All right, let's get back into our things about bye weeks, right? So I talked a little bit earlier about how 6 teams were on a bye last week, which always makes decision making difficult because you need to go into your bench quite a bit with Detroit, the Raiders, Rams, Cards, Seahawks, and Jacksonville Jaguars all on a bye last week. So you get all of those players back. This week, though, you've got the Eagles, Browns, Jets, and the Buccaneers on byes this week. So that means you get guys like there's some big running backs that are going to be out this week. Saquon, Judkins for Cleveland, Breece Hall, Rashad White, Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's injured, but even if he was healthy, he'd be on your bench. You got the Eagles guys, right? Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown again banged up, so not sure of what's going on with him. Emeka Egbuka, who's been dominant early this year, but was dealing with a hamstring injury, left a game 2 weeks ago. Thankfully, was able to come back and play this past week, which is kind of crazy. So, so those are all the main bye week guys that you're going to be missing. Baker Mayfield, again, somebody that might be one of your regular. Thinking about some waiver wire pickups. Who were some of the guys that you should be looking at picking up? Obviously, I talked a little bit earlier, Tyrone Tracy for the Giants. Huge opportunity for him to reclaim and go back to doing what he did last year. Because last year he was kind of a surprise rookie running back for the Giants to replace Saquon leaving in free agency. So it'll be interesting to see how he does the rest of the season with Jackson Dart as the quarterback. Because Jackson Dart has been he's been a firecracker. I mean, he's getting everybody. The offense is clicking with him as the quarterback. So I think it could definitely be Tyrone Tracy could be a RB2 flex player on a pretty much a weekly basis. I think with the Giants the way that they're looking right now. Some other ones that we talked earlier about Troy Franklin and RJ Harvey. I don't think they're rostered in many leagues, but definitely some people that you should look at. And also get your handcuffs ready. As I mentioned earlier, Quinshon Judkins got banged up last week. Same with Saquon Barkley. They've got a bye this week. Not sure how they're going to recover. So it might be a good idea to get Dylan Sampson and Tank Bigsby on your roster if you've got a spot for them to back up Saquon and Judkins just in case they're not able to go next week.
Yep.
Anybody else I missed there?
No, I'll just make a generalized statement about fantasy football that one of the best ways that you can improve your roster later in the season is by finding guys that you did not expect to have volume that are now getting volume. And Tyrone Tracy really falls into that category. Cam Skadabu's injury, as unfortunate as it was, Tyrone Tracy kind of becomes that default starting running back for the Giants. Very similar with Kamani Vidal for the Chargers. Like when injuries happen, sometimes it'll thrust a guy into a starting role, and they may not be as dynamic as the original starter. But if they're getting 15 touches a game, you've got a floor there. That if your team's been decimated by injuries, or you just for whatever reason you just don't have that one flex guy you need, you can plug them in and say, okay, at least they're going to get tries. And sometimes especially with an injury decimated roster, that can be enough. Just get a guy that'll just get touches. And Tyrone Tracy has that opportunity now.
Yeah, agreed. And you mentioned Troy Franklin earlier too. One thing I didn't mention was that a stat that I heard earlier this week is he has gotten 8 or more targets in half of their games this year, which is really good production for a wide receiver. So he is showing that Denver is showing that they really like Troy Franklin there too.
And Bo Nix trusts him because they played together in college, and that really does matter sometimes.
And the thing about that too is like that kind of hurts Cortland Sutton owners, right? Yep. Because
I can raise my head on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's what happens, right? When a quarterback locks in on a certain receiver and looks to that player a little bit more than somebody else.
Exactly.
And especially you talked about in the red zone too. So Joey Jets throws in there. Yeah, it's a sad day. And Larry, thanks. Appreciate the kind words there. Yeah. So anyway, let's go to our next subject. And that's the start, sit, quit. All right. So with this little segment, we're going to have a player that we think you should start, somebody that you should put on your bench, and somebody that probably can get kicked into the waiver pool in your league. So for me, judging by how the Vikings did last week against the Chargers, I'm gonna try to make this be a reverse jinx kind of thing, or to jinx this player, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is a fantastic running back. He is one of the best in all of the NFL. And if Kamani Vidal can go off for as many yards as he did against the Vikings, I can't see Jahmyr Gibbs being slowed down, although I think I did make this prediction with him a couple of weeks ago as well, and he kind of laid an egg. So maybe I'm going to try to go 2 for 2 with that. Somebody that you should be putting on your bench, Nico Collins, with Houston playing. Let me double check their schedule, who they're playing, because I believe they have a pretty tough.
You have a really good pass defense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're playing the Broncos. Yeah. Yeah. Even though they're playing at home.
Yeah.
Definitely not somebody that would be somebody that you should be starting. Because unless you are absolutely strapped, you have every other wide receiver on your team is on a bye. Then maybe. But yeah, I think that's going to be a tough one. I think that's going to be a pretty low scoring game in general too, because Houston's defense is pretty solid as well.
Yeah.
So I think that would be just as a stay away from that game if at all possible with any of your players. And then the person that I would quit is Matthew Golden. Everybody in Green Bay and hearing in the NFC North, thinking, okay, Matthew Golden's going to be their number one wide receiver. That's not the case. That's Tucker Kraft. And then also Christian Watson's coming back now. Romeo Doubs has a good target share. I just don't see Matthew Golden getting more than 1 or 2 passes, maybe 3 thrown his way every game. And that's just not going to be enough to warrant a spot on your roster, much less a spot in your lineup. How about you, Josh? You got
Yeah, I do, but I'll just say real quick, draft Green Bay Packer wide receivers at your own peril, because they have a process with that team of just spreading the ball around, and every quarterback that's come through there has done it. Outside of Devontae Adams, who was a really good wide receiver, their history is they do not target certain guys. So yeah, I would be great. That's a good call out there.
Yeah.
As far as my start goes, my start is someone we've already talked about, Tyrone Tracy. I really like this kid. Like you said, he's got a good pass. This is a team that is trying to protect their rookie quarterback. And how do you do that? You run the ball. And they're going to give him not only runs, but he's going to get safe targets out of the backfield. He's going to get the screen passes and the swing passes and things like that. So he's probably going to get you 3 or 4 fantasy points just straight up on PPR leagues, just on receptions. So he's someone that you can trust that he's going to get volume. And in a league where you may be trying to just get to 10 points with somebody that you have to plug in, Tyrone Tracy is the perfect plug-in. As far as bench, Quentin Johnston, his highs and his lows for me are too high, too far. You have to be really careful, and you might have a week or two if you bench him where you regret it. Okay. And that happens, but he put up a 0, if I remember right, last week. And you just have to be really careful with a guy like that who disappears in the offense sometimes. And I don't know if that's a function of Quentin or if that's a function of just Jim Harbaugh's offense or the way that Justin Herbert plays. But when you have a high variability and you can't count on a floor of production, you have to really need to play him. So in a situation where you have another guy that you know is going to get 4 or 5 targets a game, I probably would start that guy over Quentin and just grin and bear it if Quentin goes off, because his production has been too much of a delta for me. Yep. And then you've heard me. We've talked about this guy. I told you to have patience about this guy, and I did have patience, but I'm out of it with Alvin Kamara. That offense is just poor. They're not scoring points, and he's in at best a 50-50 timeshare with the other running backs in the league and on the team. I get the sense that New Orleans, as they go through this season, are going to be starting to look at their young talent to see who's going to be around for the next few years. They're pretty much out of it. They probably know they're out of it. And there's not a lot of reason to keep playing Alvin Kamara. I haven't heard any trade chatter about Alvin Kamara. So the thought that he's going to get traded to a contender and have all these targets for them starting to fade. So I'm at the point where I'm pretty close to giving up on Alvin Kamara as a player because he's not getting the targets. He's not getting the carries. I actually watched a little bit of his game the other night, and I needed him to get some points and never saw him on the field when I watched it, the pieces of the game I watched it. So I'm ready to give up on Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. Especially with, Tyler Shuck, coming in as their starter now, 26-year-old rookie. That is just a mess down there in New Orleans. So great insight. Loved it. So we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back in just a couple of minutes. You're watching the End Zone Oracle here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
All right. Welcome back to the End Zone Oracle. Sorry, Josh and I switched seats here real quick on the screen. But anyway, welcome back. Make sure you check out our sponsors. Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky. Absolutely fantastic product. Order it. You're not going to regret having that around as a snack. Again, I always like to have one on my desk at work and one here at home. So check that out. And then planetjerky.net, right? Or check them out on Instagram, Planet Jerky. Vital Apparel. If you need some workout gear, that's the place to go. You get a discount when you mention IESR, and also proceeds go to help mental health research. So definitely great sponsors, great companies to work with, and check them out. So let's again, thanks for coming back. Make sure you throw in any questions or comments in and hit that like button. Yes, thank you. Yes, yeah, we got lots more to go through. So let's jump into our next category. Let's talk panic button or patience. Again, we talked a little bit about that before the break with Alvin Kamara, that you had expressed patience earlier in the year, but now you're like, hit that dump button. So a couple of guys that I've been looking at, right, are should we stay patient with these people? Start panicking? We're at this part of the season when wins are huge. One star that has been struggling, not through no fault of his own, has been Justin Jefferson, a guy that was probably drafted within the top 5 picks in most drafts, is sitting at number 16 for wide receiver scoring on the season. He hasn't had the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks haven't had the offensive line playing. The running backs haven't been able to do their part to carry the load on offense for the Vikings. So Justin Jefferson's not somebody you're ever going to bench, but it is a player that you might want to think about trading, see if you can get some value for him. Or if you don't have him on your team, try and trade him now. Try and buy low, hoping that he connects with J.J. McCarthy this weekend and shows that he's going to finish the season strong. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Justin Jefferson?
You said it right, and I'm going to tell you, if all of you, if you have Justin Jefferson and you know in that league you have a Vikings fan, find a trade that you would like that's a little bit in your favor to try to get him off your team. Because to Glenn's point, Justin Jefferson is not having his best season, but it's not his fault. And there is still a high amount of trade value for him. And there is a risk if you trade for some other assets that Justin Jefferson will figure it out with JJ McCarthy. But it's worth the risk because at this point, it's just not happening for him this year. And if you can get two solid starters, like a running back and a wide receiver that combined have more value, if maybe you struggle with tight end and you can get a decent wide receiver and Tucker Kraft for him, that's probably going to be worth it for you to explore that. And especially if you have a Vikings fan on your team, like that person's going to be enticed to get that guy on his team. So yeah, I mean, definitely that's where you can get value in trade is you're ostensibly giving up the best player, but you know that best player is not in the best situation, and maybe that other person's not thinking about it that way.
Yeah. Great points. Great insight there. I love that. Although, if it's a really diehard Vikings fan, they're probably going to realize that he's not having the greatest season either, too. So,
not everyone's as diehard as you.
I follow it pretty closely. But another guy that we've talked about earlier in this year, not necessarily in this episode yet, but Kyler Murray, for somebody who a lot of owners draft to be a starting quarterback for them, he has been quite a disappointment. He actually got benched for Jacoby Brissett. I think it was a soft benching, right? I think he was banged up a little bit, but also Jacoby Brissett started 2 games for him before their bye. But this week he's playing Dallas, and I don't know. I'm trying to decide, should we be hitting the panic button? Should we think about starting him if you've got him on your team still going against Dallas?
No. This team is last place in the NFC West by a long shot. All the other teams are over 500. Kyler Murray's already proven to be a little bit mercurial with his attitude. And if things don't go well in the next week or two for this guy, I could see it totally blowing up for this team and being really toxic. And I don't get the sense that it's going to get better. I don't know why they cannot figure out how to unlock Marvin Harrison Jr. That team is such an enigma. They've got talent on offense and they just cannot put it together. And at this point, there's too many other quarterbacks. There's Drake Mays and Bo Nix. There's so many guys that you can trust every week to perform that unless you're in a 16-team league and every team's got their backup and there's nothing available, that's the only way that I'd be thinking about starting Kyler Murray. He's probably a bottom 6 or 7 fantasy football quarterback from the 32 starters of the league right now. It's just not been good, and you can't trust him. He doesn't have that thing where he's going to work hard and fight through it. Like, he gets a little bit down on himself when things aren't going well, and it's just not good.
Yeah. Great point. Third one that I had on my list, Travis Etienne with Jacksonville. You talk about somebody being up and down, like you were talking about with Quentin Johnson, Kyler Murray. Travis Etienne is that same type of a player. He shows flashes occasionally when he has the good matchup or whatever, but he just never seems to be a consistent performer.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts with Travis Etienne?
The same thoughts I have with everybody on the Jaguars, which is you don't know what they're going to do week to week.
Yeah.
They don't have any consistency in who they start, who they play, who gets the carries, who gets the touches, who gets the throws. There's such a huge swing in everything. I mean, I have on my list Travis Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know week to week if Travis Hunter is going to get 7-8 touches or if he's not going to get any. Like that whole team, Tank Bigsby, you can't trust him. he got traded, right?
Yeah, he's in Philly now. So
Yeah,
yeah, but
can't trust anybody.
Bashal Tutin, same
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, you just can't trust that team. I don't know what to expect from that team week to week. They have talent, but they don't do it consistently. And sometimes they lay an egg, and the other times they go out there and they look like world beaters. So that whole team, I wouldn't put anybody on that roster on the field.
Yeah, Brian Thomas included.
Yeah. It's been a really I was as high on Brian Thomas as anybody coming into this year. I thought he was going to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy and in real life.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't happened. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, and part of me is wondering is like, because the offensive coordinator that they brought in this year was the Minnesota Vikings quarterbacks coach last year, who I believe is like 29 years old, 29 or 30, super young.
Yeah.
Like
really young.
That, is he in his over his head, which probably is the case. But it doesn't help when you've got Trevor Lawrence was mediocre before this season and hasn't changed. That hasn't changed at all. They did bring in Brian Thomas was phenomenal last year, but and then they bring in Travis Hunter to be that dynamic player, and they haven't been able to unlock that at all. I think, but because to be honest, I don't think it was a good idea to have him play both ways.
Yeah,
to start the year.
I remember saying that on a podcast for IE Sports Radio back in August that I did not think it was a good idea that he does both. In the NFL in 2025, everything's so specialized. When you try to master two things, you master no things. Yeah. And you've seen that. He hasn't looked like the player he looked like in college.
Right.
In either position.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. And then you see the other thing that drives me nuts though too is you see the commercials with him and Trevor Lawrence, right? It's like, just focus on football. When you have to learn the defensive playbook, you have to learn the offensive playbook, and stay in shape and get your workouts in and all the practices. How are you going to be able to do that and go off and shoot commercials during the season?
Yep.
It's ridiculous and just irresponsible.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So that takes care of our panic or patience. Unless is there anybody else that you had on your list?
The other one was Nick Chubb. At this point, I'm panicked on Nick Chubb. He's not getting any volume. He's not the player he once was, and I think it's over. So if you've got him on your roster, just get rid of him. I think it's not working.
Absolutely. Woody Marks is the only guy from that backfield that is getting any kind of run, and even that's hit and miss. Although he put up a decent number of yards last week. I think it probably close to 100 total yards between rushing and receiving. But Nick Chubb, I mean, that knee injury was just absolutely horrific. And the fact that he's even on a roster right now is amazing.
Right.
Because for him to come back is going to be crazy. Kind of like Tank Dell. I don't see Tank Dell ever coming back either next year, but after his injury last year. All right. Cool. All right. Let's talk a little bit about some matchups. Let's go to our matchup magic segment here. So who are some of your favorite matchups of the week?
So I hate to say this, but if his hamstring is 100%, don't even blink about putting Lamar Jackson into your lineup and playing him against the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have historically been horrible against running quarterbacks. Josh Allen eats them alive on plays where he's out of structure and running around in the pocket. If the Dolphins play a healthy Lamar Jackson, he might put up 35 to 40 points on them in fantasy. You have to. So for those of you who have Lamar Jackson, like I do in a bunch of leagues, don't worry about it. Put him in. And as long as he's healthy, he's going to have a great matchup against the Dolphins because everything that he's good at, we're bad at. So that's my biggest one. It's Lamar Jackson.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's definitely somebody. I just really had pretty much anybody from Baltimore going against Miami. No offense there, Josh. As a
No, none
Dolphins fan,
taken. Derrick Henry, superstar
but
of the
then
week.
again, I mean, I think um, any Detroit Lions player going against the Vikings is probably going to have a pretty big game. Another one I think has a favorable matchup. Whether they're going to be able to take advantage of it or not is the Arizona Cardinals, like we talked about with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. I mean, Trey McBride is, I think, the one player that is
Only
in the
one.
Arizona offense that is Kyler proof. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. He still gets his catches. He gets yards. He's actually gotten in the end zone this year as opposed to last year. He wasn't getting in the end zone very much last year.
Yep.
So that's another favorable matchup, I would say. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's I think Chargers going against Tennessee, right? I mean, their defense number one is going to be awesome, but I could see like Kamani Vidal around against Jr. Putting up some big numbers there this week.
Yep.
Is there any other?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Let's talk some streaming defenses. So as we've talked about all season long, you always look at teams that are playing, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Cleveland, especially Cleveland. But right now, Minnesota too. So, Detroit's defense, I think, would be one that you could potentially stream this week. My favorite one of the week, though, is the Rams going against the New Orleans Saints. Tyler Shuck being the named the starting quarterback, 26-year-old rookie quarterback. I can see them having a large number of sacks and or interceptions, turnovers. Chargers going against Tennessee. Those to me are my two top streaming defenses for this week.
Packers against the Panthers. The Panthers are really up and down on offense, and when they play a good defense, they usually put up a stinker like they did against Buffalo last week. So the Packers are the defense. I'm not sure how many defenses or how many leagues have the Packers available, but if they do, that's another one that you could pounce on.
Yep. Pounce on Panthers. Got it. Like that. Although it sounds like Bryce Young's going to be back this week as opposed to Andy Dalton. Is that right? I think that's what I read.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
No offense to Panthers fans, but okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at some of the. Let me go back to sorry. Let's look at some of the start-sit players. So I did go through and kind of looked at each position group. There's some players that I think are worth starting if you need to. But I'm going to start with the tight end this time because why not? So to me, the start of the week at tight end is got to be Trey McBride. He just is, like I said, he's going against Dallas. Their defense has been awful this year. And as Jerry Jones says, they're not one player away from being a good defense. So when he's trying to justify the Micah Parsons trade, but he's definitely somebody that I would start. That's kind of a no-brainer start. I don't think you ever bench Trey McBride unless. Go ahead.
Before you move on from tight end, I have another one. So if you're not done with your Trey McBride point, keep going. But I have.
No. That was all I was going to say about Trey McBride. Go ahead. Okay. You got somebody else to be a starter?
I've got a deep sleeper for tight end. If you're really struggling with your tight end, and a lot of fantasy owners are struggling with their tight end.
Yeah.
Holston Loveland, the Chicago Bears tight end against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
The Bengals are horrific on defense, and Holston Loveland is starting to show some signs that he's a tight end that they can trust. That might be somebody that you can pick up and say, I think I might get something here in a week where they're playing a really pretty poor team. So that's another one that I would say that you should start that guy.
Yep, absolutely. That's a great point, especially because it sounds like Cole Kmet might be out
Yep.
for the Bears as well too. So
Yep.
with Kmet out, Colston Loveland in, I think that's definitely a good option. Let's see. Let's look at wide receivers. Kind of along the same line, I've got Rome Odunze as somebody that you should definitely start against Cincinnati. And it probably should be a whole sweep here with with Chicago Bears players because Cincinnati's defense has been just awful this year, both against the run and against the pass. Outside of Dallas, Dallas is kind of on another level when it comes to ineptitude on defense, but definitely Cincinnati's definitely a defense that you'd want to target with your skill position players. I forgot to talk about the sit for tight end. As far as a sit for tight end, Hunter Henry. Atlanta's defense is no joke.
Yeah.
And starting starting Hunter Henry. If you don't have to, I think you're going to if you start him, just don't expect a whole lot of points out of him. And then as far as a sit for the wide receivers, actually, I do have Troy Franklin here as somebody to sit going against Houston, just because of how good Houston's defense is. And I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. He tends, even though he gets 8 targets a game, he doesn't always catch all of those 8 targets, or he tends to get a good number of targets every game. But he is kind of touchdown dependent. He had 2 touchdowns last week. You take those off, and he had like 8 points. Yeah. So maybe he's going to get one, but I don't know. That's somebody who I had as a sit for the wide receiver position. How about any wide receivers that you have a start or a sit?
Cortland Sutton. Do not start Cortland Sutton this week.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you said Troy Franklin, I was like, dang it, that's the same team, but that's where I'm at. It's not a good week for Broncos wide receivers.
Yeah.
And if you are going to pick any of them, I would say pick Troy Franklin over Cortland Sutton. Just stay away.
I would agree with you there. I just noticed when I looked at the rankings and some of the different websites, they had Troy Franklin listed rather or a little bit higher than I would have probably ranked him. But but again, that's just a game to pretty much stay away from.
Yep.
When it comes to running backs, again, I'm going to go to the Chicago Bears. DeAndre Swift is somebody that will probably outperform his projections, whatever they are, going against Cincinnati. Definitely somebody that I would look at there. The running back that I would try to find a way to put on my bench if I had a better option is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt for Washington. Going against Seattle, Seattle's got a really good run defense. I think giving up one of the lowest amounts of yards rushing this year. So that's who I would put on my bench from that.
That's a great call. JCM did not perform well on Monday night for me and cost me. I needed just about 15 points from him and didn't, in a league where you get a bunch of bonuses for first downs and stuff, and I didn't get it. I was high on him in August, and it's just the Washington offense is so different now than it was. And how does Jaden Daniels' return change that? I don't know, but I wouldn't trust him yet. You'd have to give it some time. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Good call. All right. Was there another running back that you would have as a start this week?
I know that this isn't exactly shocking news, but the Dolphins haven't been great, but the Dolphins run through Devon Achane. So I would make sure that if you've got him in your lineup that you're starting him, because that he gets so much, his floor is so high every week. So,
he's somebody that you can start on just about any week. Then let's go to quarterbacks, right? That's always the big one here. So initially I was thinking about toying with the idea of Kyler Murray not being a bad option to start at quarterback if you needed it. But I think the one that I would really be more likely to throw in if you need somebody like, let's say you got Baker Mayfield on a bye, Caleb Williams, I think, would actually be a good start here against Cincinnati. Again, I've been kind of beating a dead horse here, continuing to throw in all these Chicago Bears players, which absolutely kills me as a Vikings fan. But I can't overlook the facts. They do have a good matchup this week.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the quarterback that I would consider sitting as a possibility would be Drake May, even though he's kind of approaching that you don't bench him kind of status. But if you drafted him to be your backup, keep him on the bench this week against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense has been number one against the pass.
Yeah.
And just has been very solid this year. And so you got to give them credit and try to avoid that matchup if at all possible.
I'm going to give you a start here that is going to, I feel like a broken record with the Dolphins, but Tua figured something out, and the Ravens defense is not good this year. And I know they played a little bit better the last couple of weeks, but I think that he's going to start playing a little bit better here over the next couple of weeks. And like I said, he throws a lot to like Devon Achane and some short stuff, which gives him yards and a decent completion percentage. So I'm not telling you to start him over any of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks that we have talked about already, or guys that we don't talk about because you have to start him every week like Josh Allen. But if you're in a bind, if you've got a quarterback, if you got Baker Mayfield and you're like, I don't know who to start because he's on a bye, that's not a horrible option. And he has thrown, as like I said, he's in the top 5 in touchdowns thrown this year in football. So from a fantasy, while he's not a great quarterback from a like, hey, my team is really good perspective, he does throw a lot of touchdowns because the Dolphins are not really a, hey, let's get inside the 10-yard line and pound it in kind of team. They're going to throw touchdowns. So you have a floor there with Tua that you can kind of sort of count on. And Thursday night games, as we've talked about many, many weeks, are very weird, and they absolutely favor the home teams. So this is something where you could probably get a 15 to 20-point game out of Tua if you're in a real bind.
Great point. I love that. Because we do talk about Thursday night games never going the way that you expect, unless you're the Chargers at home against the Vikings. Like everybody kind of saw that one coming. But let's one more thing to talk about before we finish up the show. The one player as the start of the week for me, Jahmyr Gibbs going against the Vikings. Again, I just can't see him not getting 100 yards rushing and another 75 yards receiving and a couple of touchdowns. That to me seems like the bare minimum for him going at home against the Vikings.
Right. For me, it's Colston Loveland, and I talked about him already. I love the matchup. I love it for the Bears. I think that Caleb Williams has been up and down. He's going to rely on his tight end, and I think that Cincinnati Bengals defense is a mess. And I have a feeling like there's so much need at tight end in this league. It's not where it was a decade ago where it felt like the tight ends were everything. Like everyone seems like they're in fantasy football. And I think this is a 1 week matchup that you can take advantage of. Yes.
Great call. All right. Well, everybody, that is our show. Again, I didn't get a chance to play our little music for IE Sports Radio, but please do follow the station. Follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. It's just at IE Sports Radio. Both Josh and I are on there. We've got we got single sports shows. We've got a football show. We've got a baseball show, hockey show, basketball. And then we've also got a lot of regional insiders that participate and put out videos on their specific teams from around the country. Please, please, please like and subscribe to our station on YouTube. Go to YouTube and look for IE Sports Radio. Like and subscribe. You're going to be able to see all of our shows on there. And then follow them on TikTok as well, because every video that we do a little short videos on 1 or 2 minute videos pregame, before their NFL games, after the games, weekly show breakdown for some of our teams. So whether it's I'll do one on the Minnesota Wild hockey, although I haven't had a chance to do one yet this year, but I'll be doing one of those probably over the weekend. So, all of our sports, you're going to be able to see all of those through TikTok with IE Sports Radio. So please check those out. And then again, the main other places on X, all of us are on there. Follow us. We'll throw out our comments. So again, Josh, thank you so much for being here again this week. We'll both be back again next week, same time, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, where Josh lives. And again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Great to see everybody here. We'll be back again next week. Take care. Have a great week. And Skol.
Go Blue Jays.
Yes, go Blue Jays.